From NBC News, this is Today, live from Studio 1A in Rockefeller Plaza.
And welcome back. February Heart Health Month. This morning we have some heart smarts that could save a life.
For years, MSNBC correspondent Fernaine Lee has told other people's stories, but now he's telling his own.
He was 38, seemingly healthy, with no family history or risk factors.
Fernaine had no reason to suspect that pain in his chest was actually a heart attack, and that's exactly why he is speaking out now.
How does it feel to represent not just
MSNBC correspondent Fernaine Lee has spent his career reporting stories of people who have survived and overcome trauma. But nearly 2 years ago, at age 38, he almost didn't live to tell his own story.
to now be on this side telling this story? It is amazing because we're not all as fortunate, and I'm cognizant of that.
Growing up, Lee was athletic and relatively healthy.
No history of heart disease in my family, no high blood pressure, high cholesterol, nothing.
So Lee thought it was strange when he wasn't feeling well for 3 straight days in July 2017.
I was actually at work. I felt tightness in my chest. That was that Monday. The next day, same thing, but I felt dizzy. I'd never felt that before.
The day after, he started feeling better and shrugged it off. But at home that night, Lee says everything went from bad to worse.
As soon as I laid down, probably just a few minutes, I felt this pressure building in my chest. Similar to what I felt in the days previous, but like way worse. It felt like someone had like jammed a volleyball in my chest and just pumped it and pumped it and pumped it. Cold sweat, dizziness, nausea. I felt like I was going to throw up. And I was so disoriented, doubled over in bed, and my wife got on the phone immediately and called 911.
When paramedics arrived, Lee says the pain subsided and his vitals looked normal. But to be safe, he went to the hospital the next morning. It was there that he'll never forget what the doctor told him.
He said, "Mr. Lee, you're a lucky man. If you didn't make it when you did, you might not have survived." He said, "You had a heart attack." When you think about heart attack, it seems like an old man's disease. You don't think of who I saw myself as young and healthy and with the world at my fingertips. Every single day, I'm thankful to be here because I almost wasn't.
Joining me now, joining all of us now, a colleague and a dear friend as well, Pulitzer Prize winning journalist Fernaine Lee. Glad you made it.
Thank you.
Glad you made it.
Good to be here.
Take us back to when the doctor said what he just said there.
When he said that I almost didn't make it, my first feeling was joy because I almost wasn't here, but I was.
Yeah.
I survived. I felt the kind of joy that you only experience a few times in life, that I dodged a bullet. And then it wasn't until the next day with my family, my wife, my brother, my sister, my mother, where I made a joke with my wife. I said, "You almost became a thousandaire." And then it was funny, but then I looked at my mother and I broke down in tears sobbing because she almost had to collect death benefits for me. And that was the beginning of the journey when I first started to realize that there's a tall hill to climb and that I almost died, I'm alive, but that was just the beginning of it.
Here's what's wild to me, because, I mean, I feel like we've all had that moment where just something feels a little off.
Yeah.
But who's got time to go to the ER? Who's going to take it that next step? You're young, you're healthy. You actually chose not to go to the ER until the next day. Why did you decide now it's time?
So by the time the paramedics got there, it was about 12 to 15 minutes after that doubling over in pain. And my daughter had camp the next morning. My wife had a work trip. It just seemed inconvenient. As parents and husbands and wives, we do that so often. It just seemed inconvenient. I said, "I'll go tomorrow." I think about that every now and then, saying, my goodness, the hours matter. When you die, half of the people die within that first hour.
Wow.
So I didn't go until 6, 7 hours later and wasn't in the cath lab for another 4 or 5 hours. So I thank my lucky stars and I thank God that I made it, because those minutes and hours, they count. But again, we get busy and our priorities shift. And I want to.
How old's your daughter?
She's 6 now.
She's 6 years old.
6 years old. To wake up her up in the middle of the night and drag her to the hospital, I just felt.
Yeah.
We totally understand.
So how has this changed your life? What have you done differently now since this has happened?
I mean, it's changed my life in so many ways. I'm probably the best version of Fernaine Lee ever in my life right now. Seriously, coming from that. I think health-wise, I can't change what happened. right? There's nothing I can do to change that night I had the heart attack. But I make choices every single day about being better and being stronger, being mentally and physically present. I changed my diet, so I'm basically a vegetarian till 6 o'clock. So during the day, it's grains and rice and vegetables. At night, some chicken, I'm good, or fish, I'm fine.
And you've become a big runner, too.
I'm running almost every day. I try to get 12 to 15 miles during the week and a long run during the weekends, but I'm more present.
Yeah.
And so I couldn't, again, change what happened, but I make choices every single day to be better.
I want to bring in Dr. George Fernaine. He's the chief of cardiology at NYU's Langone Hospital in Brooklyn.
Morning.
Thanks for coming in. Thanks, Dr. George, for coming by. For folks who might be watching and listening and wondering, I've been feeling this thing in my chest. I wonder if something's wrong. What should people know? What are some tips? What are some things to keep an eye out for?
It's important to understand that everybody perceives pain or discomfort differently. So classically, it's an exertional symptom. You're exerting yourself, and all of a sudden you feel a twinge in your chest, whether it's a pressure, an ache, a tightness that radiates maybe to the jaw or the arm. Sometimes it's just shortness of breath or even just dizziness. But it's an exertional symptom, and you just don't feel right. And that's when you should seek help.
But is there an age limit? I mean, I feel like if I have a little twinge, which I have had, but I'm 37, I eat pretty healthy. It's like, do I really need to go to the doctor?
Well, I think it's important that everybody goes to the doctor on a regular basis. I think it's important to educate yourself on how to eat right, how to exercise, and the signs and symptoms of just not heart attacks, but strokes or anything that could be abnormal that should give you warning signs. But yes, it's important at any age. The youngest patient I ever had was 21.
Oh, wow. Any age and any gender, too.
Any age and any gender. And with women and with African Americans and Asian descent, the symptoms are sometimes different and not as recognized.
Got it.
So you have to be careful.
Useful information. Thank you so much for sharing your story.
I did want to say one other thing, that I've gotten letters from people all across the country who are suffering with the trauma of it all, and that you can take it head on. And sometimes we don't process it the right way, but recognize it, take it head on. You are not a victim, you're a survivor. You're a survivor. Take that day and win.
You're a survivor.
Thank you,
Tremaine.
Tremaine.
Thank you.
That little girl is precious.
She is.
Thank you very much.
By the way, you can read a little bit more about those warning signs that you need to know and learn much, much more about heart health on our website, today.com. We'll be right back.